In the beginning of chaos, Pangu wielded his axe, causing the pure energy to rise and the turbid energy to sink, thus unfolding a brand new cosmic panorama. However, behind this magnificent epic of creation, a far more vast and indifferent will, the FX Group has already seen through everything. For this massive, transdimensional business entity, Pangu's creation of the world was not the end of the universe, but merely the initialization procedure of the world project model approved by the board of directors. The separation of the pure and turbid energies gave rise to the 4 symbols, and the 8 trigrams evolved accordingly, together constructing the most fundamental energy operation protocol of this world.
The Hoshin Shohong Management Division, which belongs to the group's Taiji Hoshin system, has one of its core responsibilities to precisely inject singularity seeds, a highly compressed source energy body, into this evolving sandbox world in order to catalyze and test the world's infinite potential and evolutionary path under specific rules. Around 200 million years ago, the mission code-named Gemini was launched silently. 2 spirit stones, similar in appearance, but with completely different internal codes, were ejected from their space-time orbits, like 2 dazzling shooting stars, streaking across the primordial sky, and falling towards the vast eastern continent. The Sunday stone, like a raging fire, crashed precisely onto the summit of Flower Fruit Mountain in the eastern continent. It greedily absorbed the true fire of the sun, and its evolutionary path was set by the engineers of the FX Group as battle, aiming to test the possibility of this world breaking through its limits under the confrontation of power and rules. The other yin stone, like a drop of solidified moonlight, silently merged into the depths of the spiritual veins of Qingqiu Kingdom. It quietly immersed itself in the moonlight of the 10,000-year-old cold pool, and its evolutionary path was set as emotion and will, aiming to explore the ultimate mystery between emotion, will, and energy transformation. It is the sociological and energetic interdisciplinary experiment that the group is most concerned about. Qingqiu, the fairyland of the Fox Clan, a kingdom that reveres beauty and allure. Every inch of its land flows with intoxicating spiritual energy, and every breeze carries enchanting fragrance. The Fox Clan prides itself on pure bloodlines and reveres captivating beauty. The pursuit of ultimate charm is an instinct etched deep within their souls. The number of tails is the sole measure of their status, and on this day, the sky above the Qingqiu Kingdom, which had been peaceful for 10,000 years, suddenly appeared with a radiant glow. 7 colored auspicious clouds gathered into a huge vortex, and misty purple energy cascaded down like a waterfall, enveloping the entire mountain range. At the center of the sacred moonlight pool, the yin stone, which had absorbed the essence of heaven and earth for billions of years, was emitting powerful rhythms like the heart of the universe about to awaken.
A sacred object is about to be born. May heaven bless our clan. Our clan will gain another 9 minus-tailed celestial fox.
The news spread like wildfire throughout every corner of Qingqiu. Countless fox demons poured out of their mountain caves, transforming into their most beautiful forms and kneeling devoutly in the direction of moonlit pool. Their eyes filled with fervor and anticipation. They had no doubt that a holy infant with unparalleled beauty and a natural 9 tails was about to be born, leading the Qingqiu Fox clan to unprecedented glory. The highly respected elders had already erected a white marble altar by the moonlit pool, holding a grand and ancient welcoming ceremony. Dressed in magnificent robes, they chanted obscure ancient songs, and the spiritual energy in the air boiled under their guidance, transforming into visible streams that all flowed towards the increasingly radiant spirit stone. Above the clouds, a man dressed in an ancient Taoist robe stood suspended in midair. His face was handsome, yet his expression was as cold as ancient ice. He was Ying Long, a senior observer from the FX Group's Singularity Planning Division. In his hand, a jade slip shimmered with a pale blue light, within which lines of data incomprehensible to mortals rapidly flowed. Singularity Yin has successfully landed initial energy form, exhibiting abnormal fluctuations. Data label, sample S negative, O2, comparing gene pool, match failed. Warning, morphology, deviates from preset model by more than 99.7%. Yinglong's gaze pierced through the thick clouds, landing precisely on the frenzied fox pack below, his eyes utterly unmoved. In his eyes, this was nothing more than an experiment with preset parameters, and he was merely a faithful recorder and data analyst. The subject's emotions were simply parameters that needed to be quantified. Finally, under the breathless gaze of all the fox demons, a crisp cracking sound emanated from within the spirit stone. Immediately afterward, the sound grew more frequent, and the cracks spread rapidly across the entire stone like a spiderweb. A dazzling light burst forth from within, so intense that even the fox demons of lower cultivation levels could not look directly at it, and they all covered their faces with their sleeves. As the light gradually faded, a furry, round little creature was curled up on the stone platform of the altar, trembling. Its entire body was a strange and pure Tiffany blue, its fur soft and fluffy, shimmering with a satin-like sheen. Its appearance closely resembled a newborn guinea pig, or rather, a dyed hamster. It slowly raised its head, revealing a pair of pure unblemished black eyes, like two obsidian stones, curiously and timidly surveying this unfamiliar world, emitting a faint, distinctly different sound from a fox's cry. Squeak, squeak. The entire Qingchu fell into a deathly silence. It was a silence mingled with absurdity, shock, and anger. After expectations had been shattered, the wind stilled, the song ceased, even the chirping of insects and birds vanished. All the fox demons stood frozen, their fervor turning into comical astonishment. A young fox demon couldn't help but rub his eyes, muttering to himself, Am I hallucinating? After the deathly silence came a volcanic eruption of uproar and commotion. What is this?
A guinea pig? A blue guinea pig? How could we in Qingqiu have such a thing? A sacred relic. A sacred relic we've awaited for 10,000 years. How could it be such an ugly thing? The soaring anticipation instantly turned into chilling terror, and the devout worship transformed into undisguised disgust. A grumpy elder of the Crimson Fox clan, whose family had once produced an 8-tailed celestial fox, now trembled as he pointed a finger at the small, innocent blue creature on the stone platform, its voice shrill and distorted, as if its tail had been stepped on. Ominous creature. This is the ultimate stain on our noble bloodline. It is a curse from heaven. Panic spread like a plague among the foxes. The purity of their bloodline, which they were so proud of, and their unparalleled beauty, which they cherished as life itself, seemed like a colossal and cruel joke in the face of this blue guinea pig. They could not accept that this sacred creature, born from the essence of heaven and earth and the culmination of millennia of longing, was such an anomaly completely devoid of beauty and... Kill it, someone shouted, hysterically.
Yes, execute this monster immediately. It will corrupt the spiritual veins of Qingqiu Aiyu. It will make our descendants ugly too.
Several hot-tempered elders' eyes flashed with murderous intent. They firmly believed that the existence of this hybrid blue guinea pig had shaken the very foundation of the Fox clan's survival. Their belief in beauty, the Red Fox elder could no longer restrain himself. He wanted to personally crush this disgrace. He extended his claws, flashing with crimson demonic flames, and accompanied by a fierce demonic wind, and viciously grabbed at the still bewildered blue ball. Just as the claws were about to strike, a gentle yet irresistibly majestic force swept across the entire area like moonlight in the depths of winter. Elder Red Fox's attack vanished in midair, and he himself was involuntarily pushed back several steps by an invisible force. After regaining his footing, his face was filled with
Stop.
A voice came from the forbidden area, questioning Heartcliff, at the deepest part of Qingzhou. The voice was not loud, but it was as clear and cold as snow, echoing clearly in the ears of every fox demon, as if it were ringing directly in the depths of their souls, instantly calming their fanatical minds. The foxes looked in the direction of the sound and saw a woman with snow-white hair and a moon-white robe slowly stepping out. Her appearance was exquisite, and her eyes were calm and still, as if she had become one with the world, untouched by any trace of mortal dust. She was Tuesday Shanyue, the only elder of Qingzhou, who had transcended tribulation and ascended to immortality, and who had long since withdrawn from worldly affairs. She wasn't disturbed by the commotion, but rather, in the depths of her being, she sensed a heavenly secret concerning the future survival of the Fox clan, and the source of that secret was drawn to the fragile and vulnerable life before. Tuesday Shanyue's gaze swept across the entire area, and all the fox demons, including the elders who had just been filled with murderous intent, lowered their heads in awe. Her gaze finally settled on the little creature in the center of the stone platform, and a complex light, imperceptible to anyone, flashed in her worldly wise eyes. She saw something that ordinary foxes could not see. Within that weak body was a bottomless vortex composed of pure primordial energy, the vastness of its potential even startling her. A true immortal.
This is not an ominous sign, but a variable. Changes in the way of heaven begin from the smallest things. What you see is merely the surface. This is a spirit sent from heaven, beyond the comprehension of you mortals. Protect it well and do not make any mistakes.
Thanks to the Grand Elder's golden words, Suji's life was spared. However, sometimes living requires more courage than dying. Her childhood was spent in endless isolation and bullying. She didn't have the sharp beak and slender waist of a fox spirit, nor could she learn any seductive charm. While other fox spirit girls her age began to learn the art of transformation, making themselves more and more beautiful, and competing to see whose fur was brighter, and whose eyes were more alluring. No matter how hard Suji tried, she could only make her already round body even rounder, like a rolling blue ball of fur. This made her a walking joke in Qingqi.
Look, that blue guinea pig is trying to walk again. It's so clumsy, it's laughable. Don't touch her. My mother said that if you get her bastard smell, you won't be pretty anymore.
A young fox demon named Yuling was a highly talented elite in her clan, and a former rival of Daji. She cleverly transformed her jealousy of Daji's talent into hatred for Suji. This outsider, she often led a group of followers to surround Suji, imitating her squeaking sounds and plucking the soft blue fur on her body that the elders believed contained spiritual energy, just to see Suji cower in fear, unable to speak out. Mongrel, blue guinea pig, freak. These malicious and derogatory terms shaped Sugi's lonely and bleak childhood. She longed for acceptance, but only received ridicule. She tried to get closer, but only encountered more deliberate estrangement. She didn't understand why she was born to endure all of this. Gradually, a layer of timidity, inferiority, and sorrow veiled her pure black eye. In the dark, malicious world defined by Suji, a ray of light shone in without warning and with overwhelming. It was an ordinary afternoon when Yuling, along with her followers, once again cornered Suji under several ancient peach trees. They snatched the spiritual fruit that Suji had painstakingly found, a fruit that could enhance spiritual energy, and tossed it high in the air like a monkey show. They watched as Suji, with her short legs, clumsily jumped up to try and snatch it back, only to fall to the ground again and again in a pathetic display, and they let out bursts of shrill laughter.
What are you doing?
Sister DAJI, we didn't do anything. We were just playing with this little thing.
Play. My sister, is she someone you can just play with?
You your sister?
Row. Eat up, you poor thing. Don't be afraid your big sister is here. No one will dare to bully you.
Looking at the flawless face before her, and smelling the faint fragrance of peach blossoms emanating from her, Suji's eyes welled up with tears. Years of pent-up grievances, loneliness, and fierce force like a flood bursting its banks. She could no longer control herself and threw herself into Daji's warm and soft embrace, bursting into tears, crying her heart out. From that day on, Daji became Suji's older sister and the only light in her.
We, Suji, don't need to learn those superficial things. We have a much stronger power that they can never reach. This is the most unique color in the world, the color of the sky and the sea. They're just jealous of your distinctive.
To further solidify Suji's trust and to delve deeper into the secrets hidden within this body, Daji decided to give Suji a grand gift. In a secret cave, she said to Suji,
My dear sister, your origins are extraordinary, so your path of cultivation is destined to be extraordinary as well. Ordinary fox demons take 100 years to transform into human form, but I believe you can do it sooner. Transforming into human form is the first step in mastering your own power. Don't be afraid. Think of your sister and believe in yourself.
I succeeded.
See, you did it. You really are one of a kind. From today onwards, you can be with your sister as a human.
This premature and unstable human form became Daji's sweetest gift to Suji, but also the most firmly binding shackle. Suji worshipped and relied on her omnipotent and incredibly loving sister even more. However, Suji never realized that, from an angle she couldn't see, when Daji's gaze fell upon her, behind that gentle smile lay a pair of eyes brimming with greed and fervor. The very moment Daji first rescued Suji and embraced her, Daji instinctively sensed a spiritual essence hidden within Suji, vast as a starry sea, pure as crystal. That power was so primal and pure, far surpassing the demonic power, painstakingly cultivated by any fox demon in Qingzhou. A bold and insidious plan quietly took shape in Daji's mind. She wanted to turn Suji into her own exclusive, living source of spiritual power. She wanted to absorb this primal power to climb to the pinnacle of power that no one could reach. This disguised protection was the first and most successful move she had made in this long parasitic relationship.
Sister the AJ is the best person in the world. She is the only light in my...
Daji's plan proceeded flawlessly, even more smoothly than she had anticipated. Suji's complete trust and reliance on her was her sharpest and most effective weapon.
Suji, your body contains unparalleled power like a huge untapped treasure mountain. But this power is too wild and pure. If left unguided, it will harm you like a flood. I'll teach you a unique cultivation method exclusive to US sisters to help you control it. Maintaining human form while cultivating will yield even better results.
Suji obediently transformed into the little girl with Tiffany blue hair, overjoyed, nodding repeatedly. She dreamed of becoming stronger, not to bully others, but simply to stop being bullied and to be worthy of standing forever beside her radiant older sister. The mental cultivation method Daji spoke of was called the spiritual resonance technique. She told Suji that this method required a high degree of synchronization of spiritual energy and a mutual understanding between the two people in order to cultivate it. By placing their palms together, they could create a spiritual energy cycle, thereby absorbing and exhaling the spiritual energy of heaven and earth at several times the efficiency and progressing together. The two sat cross-legged facing each other under the moonlight, their palms touching. Following Daji's guidance, Suji closed her eyes and began to try to circulate the primal power within her body, a power that originated from the spirit stone and felt unfamiliar to her. At first, the power flowed slowly and laboriously through her delicate meridians like a trickle.
Yes, that is it. Relax. Don't be afraid of it. Treat it as part of your body now. Guide it to your palm. Don't resist. Completely trust your sister.
Suji complied without suspicion. When the first wisp of her faint blue spiritual energy touched Daji's palm through her own, she felt a slight warmth in her hand, as if enveloped by a warm spring, which was very comfortable, but unseen by Suji. Daji's eyes erupted with uncontrollable ecstasy and grief. That is not some kind of spiritual resonance at all. It is clearly a naked act of plunder disguised as warmth. The pure, incomparably refined primordial spiritual energy of Sujina was being continuously absorbed into Daji's body through their pressed palms. This power was so pure that it required almost no refining, perfectly merging into Daji's demon core and becoming a part of her own power. It was like a traveler who had been thirsty in the desert for 100 years, suddenly discovering an inexhaustible spring, filling her with immense satisfaction and ecstasy. Each instance of dual cultivation was a tremendous drain on Suji. After cultivation, she always felt dizzy, exhausted, and as if her body had been hollowed out. Even maintaining her human form was difficult, and her beautiful long blue hair appeared dull and lifeless. She needed to sleep for a long time to barely recover. Daji, on the other hand, would become radiant and glowing, her eyes exuding a natural allure, and her demonic power would increase rapidly at a visible...
Sister, I'm so tired. I feel lightheaded.
Silly sister, this is normal. The power within you is immense, and it is natural to feel tired when you first begin to channel it. This shows that our training is very effective. You are gaining control of this power, and you are making great progress. Here, take this elixir that your sister specially prepared for you, and you'll be fine after a good night's sleep.
The elixir did indeed help Suji recover her spirit quickly, but its true purpose was to better nourish the spiritual treasure troves within her body and stimulate the regeneration of the spirit stone's origin, so that it could be mined more efficiently next time. Suji is like a carefully maintained treasure, and Daji is the only thief with the key. The fox demons of Qingqiu were shocked to discover that Daji's strength was soaring at an abnormally rapid pace. In just a few decades, her cultivation had broken through bottlenecks one after another, advancing from 5 tails to 7 tails, even surpassing many elders who had cultivated for thousands of years. Her illusion techniques became increasingly refined, able to manipulate the spiritual energy of heaven and earth with every gesture, and captivating all beings with every smile and frown, making all the fox demons fall for her. Only Yinglong, high above in the clouds, left an objective record on his cold jade slip. The energy core sample -02 exhibits periodic decay and recovery. The energy level of host D-01, Daji, is increasing exponentially. The symbiotic parasitic model has been initially established and is operating stably. Assessment: the energy conversion efficiency is extremely high, but the parasitic relationship has the potential to suppress the autonomous consciousness of -02. Continue to observe. Suji was completely unaware of this. She was simply genuinely happy for her sister's progress, and felt an unprecedented sense of pride in being able to help her. She believed they were growing stronger together, unaware that every bit of spiritual power she painstakingly cultivated was mostly becoming a stepping stone for Daji to reach the pinnacle of power. The harder she worked, the stronger Daji became, while she herself remained forever stagnant. With a vast amount of pure spiritual power stolen from Suji, Daji's prestige and strength reached an unprecedented peak in Qingqiu. At a grand gathering of the 10,000 Fox clan, the aged and frail Fox King, faced with Daji's suffocating, almost tangible, powerful demonic aura, felt a suppression originating from the depths of his bloodline. He wisely chose to abdicate, voluntarily relinquishing the throne to this universally acclaimed genius. The coronation ceremony was unprecedentedly grand. The Foxies, from mountaintop to foot, knelt in a dense, dark mass chanting, "Long live the Queen." Daji, clad in a 9-tailed phoenix robe woven by hundreds of skilled artisans over several years and wearing a golden crown, ascended step by step to the altar atop Qingqiu. Bathed in the glory of being the center of attention, she reveled in the ultimate pleasure of power. Her gaze slowly swept over the dark mass of foxes below, seeing faces that had once scorned, envied, or admired her, now filled only with awe and submission. A satisfied yet chilling smile involuntarily crept onto her lips. Suji hid in an inconspicuous corner under the altar, watching this scene with a mixture of joy and unease. She dared not get too close, afraid that her blue attire, considered inauspicious, would tarnish her sister's most glorious moment. In her heart, her sister Daji was a born queen, and everything she had achieved was her due. She was genuinely happy for her sister, and that pure joy even overshadowed her own deepening, seemingly perpetually tired feeling. After the ceremony, Daji dismissed all the elders and nobles who had come to offer their congratulations and found Suji, who was dozing off alone in her bedchamber. She shed the stern and cold disguise of the Demon King and transformed back into the gentle older sister who belonged only to Suji. She took Suji's hand, held her in her arms, and gently stroked her round head.
Suji, look, this is the glory that power brings. From this day forward, in Qingqiu, no one will dare say no to you again. Anyone who dares to bully you, I will make them disappear from this world.
My older sister is the best.
Daji smiled, but her gaze went beyond Suji's head, beyond the rolling mountains of Qingqiu, and towards the distant human world, the capital of the Shang dynasty, Kaoj. Her eyes became deep and dark, churning with endless greed and ambition. King of Qingqi, that is not enough. A small, isolated fox kingdom was far from satisfying her desires. What she craved was a wider world, greater power, and true, absolute authority over life and death. The dragon energy of a flourishing human dynasty, the resentment of the people, things that were like deadly poison to ordinary demons. Were, in her eyes, the ultimate tonic that would allow her to break free from the shackles of her bloodline and transform from a demon into a higher level of monster. 有听到山头. She wanted to become a unique being in this world so that even the gods and Buddhas would take notice of her.
Suji, Qingqiu is still too small. The sky here can't contain our future. Soon, your sister will take you to see a world 1,000,000 times larger than Qingqiu. At that time, the whole world will prostrate at our feet, and no one will dare to bully you again.
The we she spoke of was the most beautiful lie she had ever woven. Suji had no idea that in Daji's grand future plans, she was merely a living spirit stone, carried around to ensure a stable energy supply. Upon hearing this, Suji's eyes filled with longing for the future. She had no doubt about her sister's words and clung tightly to Daji, as if Daji were her eternal and warm harbor. She eagerly anticipated that larger and more wonderful world, completely unaware that what was to come would be an endless nightmare filled with bloodshed, torture, and betrayal. Kaoj, the capital of the Shang dynasty. This was Suji's first time stepping into the most prosperous city in the world. The towering city walls, the wide streets that could accommodate 10 carriages side by side, the dazzling array of shops on both sides, and the bustling crowds dressed in all sorts of colorful clothes. Everything felt incredibly new and unfamiliar to her. But this novelty was quickly replaced by an omnipresent sense of oppression. Smiles were rare on the faces of passers-by, and even in the busiest streets, one could always see ragged beggars pleading for alms and slaves with numb eyes, led by ropes. The air was filled with the luxurious scents of spices and wine, but it could not conceal the faint, stale stench of blood lurking beneath. Daji is now the most favored queen of King Zhou of Shang. With unparalleled charm and unfathomable cunning, she has completely taken control of the entire harem in just a few months, and even extended her reach to the court, manipulating the core of power in the Shang dynasty. She brought Suji into the palace, ostensibly to bring my sister to broaden her horizons. The grandeur and luxury of the palace far exceeded Suji's imagination. The floor was paved with gold, the steps were made of white jade, and the pillars were inlaid with luminous pearls. Countless beautiful palace maids and strong eunuchs moved among them, but they were all silent as cicadas in winter, not daring to make a sound as they walked, their faces filled with deep fear, as if they were walking on a knife's edge.
Do you like it here?
You're very beautiful, but they all seem afraid of you.
Fear? No, Suji. It wasn't fear, it was awe. That is the wonderful feeling that absolute power brings. Come here.
Your Majesty, spare me. This servant deserves to die.
Raise your head. see, with a single word I can give him life or take his life. Everything about him is defined by me. This is the human world, a world where the strong rule and the weak are like ants. It is far more interesting than Qingqiu, isn't it?
Suji looked at the trembling eunuch, who was almost urinating, and felt a strong sense of unease. She didn't understand why her sister would enjoy instilling such extreme fear in others. Just then, a Taoist priest with an air of otherworldly wisdom approached from afar. He was Shen Gongbo, the newly appointed Grand Preceptor of Qingzhou. Originally a Taoist practitioner from the Jade Void Palace of Kunlun Mountain, he happened to pass through Kaojij and immediately perceived the overwhelming demonic aura above the palace, almost obscuring the nation's fortune. He initially intended to act on behalf of heaven to subdue the demon, but upon seeing Daji, he was utterly terrified by her unfathomable demonic power. Daji did not kill him. Instead, she saw the greed and jealousy within him, and, using the promise of higher cultivation methods and endless glory as bait, lured this wicked Taoist priest into her service, making him her agent in the mortal realm.
Your Majesty.
Imperial Advisor, how is the matter I asked you to handle?
Your Majesty, the gathering resentment formation has been initially completed beneath the royal city. This formation can draw upon the resentment, anger, and sorrow of the million soldiers and civilians in the city, transforming them into extremely yin energy, which will converge beneath the star minus speaking tower for your Majesty to use in cultivating your demonic arts. However, this formation is against the will of heaven. Once fully activated, Chaoji City will surely be ravaged by plague, and the people will suffer. If this continues, it may invite divine retribution.
Divine retribution. In this chaos, I am the heaven. You just need to do your job well, and you'll get your share of the benefits. Suji, you see, soon I will have power beyond anything. Then we can be together forever, and nothing will be able to separate us.
Suji nodded as if she understood, but the unease in her heart grew stronger. She felt as if her sister was pulling her towards a dark abyss, filled with resentment and wailing, a place she couldn't understand at all. Suji's unease quickly transformed into a concrete, unforgettable fear. To suppress the dissent of the loyal ministers who still harbored feelings for their former kingdom, Daji proposed to Qingzhou the torture of branding. A massive bronze pillar would be laid horizontally, its base piled high with the finest, most flaming coals, until the pillar was glowing red-hot. Then, those ministers who had disobeyed would be forced to walk on the greased pillar. A single misstep would send them plummeting into the burning coals below, where they would be burned alive in excruciating agony, serving as a warning to others. On this day, an old minister named Meibo was ordered by the enraged Qingzhou to be subjected to the torture of branding by burning oil, because he spoke frankly in court, advising Qingzhou not to indulge in wine and women, neglect state affairs, and listen to the slander of the seductive concubine. Suji was invited by Daji to watch the execution. The execution ground was set up below the newly built star-picking tower. Qingzhou and Daji sat high up on the tower, with fine wine and delicacies laid out before them, as if waiting for a good show to begin. Below, the huge bronze pillar was glowing red-hot, radiating scorching heat, and even the air around it distorted due to the high temperature. The charcoal fire crackled and popped, like the sinister laughter of it.
Tyrant, evil queen, you have acted perversely and cruelly, harming the loyal and virtuous. The 600-year-old Shang dynasty will surely be destroyed in your hands. Even though I, Meibo, die today and become a vengeful ghost, I will await your fate in the netherworld.
Kill him.
Sister, no please. Open your eyes and look, Suji. This is what happens to the weak. This is what happens to those who resist me. You must remember this.
The entire hall erupted in uproar. Qingzhou was furious, but Daji's face, in that instant, turned icy cold. She keenly sensed that otherworldly chill. That night in the palace, Daji revealed her true colors to Suji for the first time. Warm incense burned in the palace. but Suji felt as if he had fallen into an ice cellar, so cold that even his soul trembled.
Are you questioning me? Have you forgotten that everything you have is thanks to me? I saved your life from those elders who wanted to kill you.
But sister, he's a good person. He was just telling the truth.
Good person, bad person, who gets to define them? Me. In this palace, in this city of chaos, I am the standard that defines everything. Suji, remember your place. What are you? You are a stone, a stepping stone that will help me reach the summit. A stone doesn't need to have its own thoughts, understand?
Once a crack in trust appears, it can never be mended. It will only be torn wider and wider with each passing disappointment and pain over time. From that day on, Suji's gaze towards Daji changed. She was no longer the little tail who would only follow behind with eyes full of adoration. She began to consciously and silently observe Daji's every move, every word she said, and every action she was horrified to discover that her sister's gentleness was reserved only for her, while towards everyone else, whether palace maids, eunuchs, or ministers, there was only utter indifference and undisguised cruelty. Suji's inner torment grew daily. Her innate kindness clashed with the bloody extravagance of the palace, like a drop of clear water falling into an ink. She began to subconsciously avoid Daji, often going alone to a secluded corner of the palace to daydream, watching ants move their nests and flowers bloom and fade. She wanted to escape but had nowhere to go. There was no place for her in Qingqiu, and without Daji's protection, she probably wouldn't survive a day in this cannibalistic palace. In her endless confusion and pain, she met a young palace maid named Chunner. Chunner was different from the other palace maids. Her face did not show the numb fear, and a glimmer of life still shone in her eyes. She would secretly feed the injured birds in the imperial garden, and she would smile genuinely when she saw a wildflower blooming in a forgotten corner. Chunner's kindness, like a faint but warm ray of sunshine, shone into Suji's gloomy and oppressive world. Suji would share the pastries she secretly hid with Chunner. Chunner would excitedly tell her about interesting things outside the palace, such as which family sugar figurines were the best, or which bridge had the most beautiful scenery. They became secret friends, sharing each other's small joys. However, in this palace ruled by the devil, anything beautiful was destined to be destroyed. Disasters. One day, while Chunir was cleaning Daji's bedchamber, she accidentally broke a jade fox ornament that Daji had brought from Qingqiu. It wasn't a valuable magical artifact, just a small trinket that Daji had casually carved in her youth. But because it was the Empress's stuff, it became a grave sin. Chunir was so frightened that she immediately knelt down and begged for mercy, her face deathly pale. Suji, upon hearing the news, also rushed over, knelt before Daji, and clung to her legs, pleading for his friend's life.
Sister, Chunner didn't mean it. Please forgive her. She didn't do it on purpose. I'm willing to take the punishment for her.
Are you pleading for her, Suji? You seem to have forgotten what I told you. You started making friends, especially with a lowly mortal, someone who could be crushed at any moment. She actually incited you to offend me. Your crime is compounded. Drag her away. Give her 50 strokes of the cane. Beat her to a pulp, and then throw her into the snake pit.
No, sister, please.
Suji screamed in terror. She tried to rush over, but was held down by 2 guards who were already waiting and could not move. Daji wanted to do this in front of Suji. This was not only a punishment for the mortal palace maid, but also a punishment for Suji, a warning to others as an example. She wanted Sugi to understand that she wouldn't allow anyone or anything she couldn't control in her life. Everything about Sugi had to be defined by her, including her friends and her emotions. Chunner was eventually tortured to death. It is said that she was still breathing when she was thrown into the snake. This incident completely devastated Suji. She locked herself in a dimly lit room, refusing to eat or drink. She finally realized in despair that in this palace, under Daji's rules, her small, insignificant acts of kindness would not only fail to save anyone, but would instead bring them even more terrible disasters. The more she tries to protect someone, the more tragically that person dies. Her life was trapped in an unsolvable dead end. Should she continue to be an obedient tool, living numbly, or should she cling to her insignificant belief in right, and then watch helplessly as everything she cherished was destroyed? She huddled in the cold corner, her once pure obsidian-like eyes now shrouded in unfathomable confusion and despair for the first time. She began to wonder if her very existence was a mistake. Daji grew impatient with Suji's aloofness and despondency. She needed her source of spiritual power to maintain its vibrant emotions and vitality in order to produce the highest quality energy. Instead of being as lifeless as it was now, like a drop. In order to stimulate King Zhou's body, which had been weakened by wine and women, and also to further advance her own demonic cultivation, a mad and inhumane plan took shape in her mind. She proposed to King Zhou to hold an unprecedented grand banquet called the 100 Infants Blessing Banquet to pray for the king's longevity. The most crucial ingredient in this blessing ceremony is the collection of 100 male infants born at midnight 11 p.m. to 1 a.m., who are at their most vigorous and full of life. Their primordial purple energy is used to refine the legendary 9-turn longevity. This explanation was full of mysterious Taoist terminology, which left King Zhou completely bewildered. However, he did not care about the process and only cared about the word immortality. With the embellishment and subtle persuasion of the imperial advisor Shen Gongbao, King Zhou was overjoyed, believing it to be a sign of divine favor. He immediately ordered a nationwide search for eligible infants, with the threat of execution of the entire family for any disobedience. Shen Gongbao and the other sorcerers, who had been subdued by Daji, naturally understood what this so-called innate purple aura was. It was nothing more than the fresh, warm heart of an infant. However, these cultivators, who had long since fallen into depravity for power and influence, all expressed their support in order to get a share of the spoils from Daji. They praised the queen for her tireless efforts for the king, saying that this was a supreme merit that brought blessings to all people. The entire imperial court has been completely turned into a den of demons. When the news reached Suji's ears, she was struck dumb, completely frozen in place. She couldn't believe that the older sister who had once brushed the dust off her and gently called her little sister could come up with such a heinous and horrifying plan. Eating the hearts and livers of 100 babies. This is no longer a demon, no longer a monster. This is an act that even the most wicked ghosts in the deepest depths of hell would be ashamed of. The last shred of illusion she held for Daji, the last bit of self-deception that her sister might just be blinded by power, shattered completely at this. She could no longer remain silent. She knew her strength was weak, and she knew that the consequences of resistance might be even worse than Chunner's. But this time, she couldn't convince herself to turn a blind eye. Those 100 vibrant lives, who had not yet truly seen what the world was like, weighed heavily on her conscience like 100 mountains, making it hard for her to breathe. As night fell, the first batch of infants forcibly snatched from their mother's arms were imprisoned in a secluded palace awaiting their sacrifice the following day. The cries rising and falling in waves were heart-wrenching and sounded particularly mournful in the silent night, like the wails of goat. Suji made up her mind, taking advantage of her short, round, and inconspicuous figure, as well as her familiarity with the palace layout over the past few days. She quietly sneaked into the heavily guarded palace. Outside the palace, there were demon soldiers and highly skilled Taoist priests guarding the area, but all their attention was focused on guarding against external enemies. No one expected that one of their own would cause trouble from within. Suji moved like a blue ghost through the shadows of the palace. Unable to save all the babies, she used strips of cloth torn from the bedsheets to tightly wrap herself around the 4 babies in 3 baskets, closest to the door, before squeezing through an unguarded dog hole used for dumping garbage. She dared not stop, running frantically, using every ounce of her strength to escape the poorly guarded city of Kayaji. She didn't know where to go, and could only run aimlessly towards the dark, unknown wilderness. perhaps sensing the warm aura emanating from her. A warmth unlike that of humans and originating from the essence of the Spirit Stone. The baby in her arms miraculously stopped crying and simply stared at her with its large, clear, and bright eyes. Looking into those pure, innocent eyes, Suji felt the meaning of her existence for the first time. She was no longer the outcast or tool defined by others. At this moment, she was a guardian. Even if she could only save 4, it was a choice she made with her own will. However, what she didn't know was that, the moment she fled the palace, a jade pendant connected to her spiritual energy source in Daji's bedroom had already sounded a piercing alarm and shattered into dust. Inside Daji's palace, the jade pendant connected to Suji's spiritual power shattered with a crack, turning into dust. Daji, who was admiring herself in front of the mirror, was instantly shocked. Then her face turned into raging fury. She never expected that the energy battery she had nurtured, and whose edges had long been worn down, would dare to openly rebel. This was not only betrayal, but also the ultimate provocation against her right to define herself. How dare she, Daji the tool she had defined, possess her own will? In her rage, murderous intent was palpable. She almost immediately wanted to transform into a black whirlwind, chase after Suji, capture her, crush the infants one by one before her eyes, and tear herself to shreds. But just before her demonic power erupted, she forcibly restrained herself. Killing Suji would be tantamount to severing her most stable and purest source of power, especially at this crucial moment when she was about to break through to the demon realm and needed a massive amount of pure energy to neutralize her resentment. A thought, more vicious and more in line with her style than simply killing Suji, surfaced in her mind. What she wanted was not Suji's death, but the complete erasure of her existence. She wanted to isolate Suji completely on a spiritual and soul level, letting her rot away in regret and despair. Daji closed her eyes, and her powerful demonic energy instantly unleashed itself. She recklessly expended a vast amount of her own essence, employing an extremely energy-consuming illusion technique, Water Moon Mirror Flower. The next moment, in the distant and tranquil Qingqiu, in the minds of all the fox demons, regardless of their current activities, a perfectly clear image simultaneously appeared. In the scene, Daji, the demon queen, they once took pride in and now revered as a deity, is disheveled and pleading with a blue guinea pig for mercy, begging her not to take away the medicinal ingredients crucial to the king's immortality. The blue figure, however, disappears resolutely into the darkness with several mortal infants, without looking back. The angle of the shot is carefully designed, portraying Suji's back as cold and ruthless, while making Daji's pleading appear pitiful and endearing.
Fellow clansmen, I, Daji, have always striven for the glory of my clan, enduring humiliation and hardship for the future of Qingqiu. I treated Suji like a younger sister, protecting her with utmost care, rescuing her from bullying and giving her the best shelter. Never did I imagine she would be so heartless, colluding with lowly mortals to steal the treasure I prepared for the king, betraying the Fox clan. My heart aches terribly. I have failed our ancestors and betrayed the trust Qingqiu placed in us.
This tearful and distorted account instantly ignited the entire Qingqiu. The Fox clan was already xenophobic, and their resentment towards Suji, this outsider, had been brewing for a long time. Now seeing her betray their proud demon king, both old and new grudges surge into their hearts.
I knew it! This bastard is inherently inclined towards lowly mortals. She has usurped the noble bloodline of Qingqiu Ayu. The demon king was too merciful. He should have killed her long ago to prevent future troubles.
Kill her. Kill this ungrateful traitor. Traitor, a disgrace to Qingqiu. She is unworthy to be a fox of Qingqiu. The crowd was outraged, and the outcry was death. Daji had calculated all of this perfectly. What she wanted was for Suji to be abandoned by her entire tribe, for her to have nowhere to belong in the world, and for her to be rejected from the very root of her being. Through her magic, she clearly transmitted the voice of Qingqiu's judgment to Suji's ears as he desperately fled through the wilderness. Those once familiar voices, whether mocking or flattering, now became the most vicious curses. Each cry of traitor was like a poisoned blade, repeatedly cutting into Suji's already broken heart.
From this day forward, you are no longer a fox of Qingqiu. Your name will be erased from my clan's history books. You are, in my eyes, a traitor. Get out of here and die alone and pathetically with this identity. This is the price you pay for betraying.
Suji stumbled, tripped over a stone, and fell heavily to the ground. The baby in her arms felt the jolt and cried in distress. She looked up, tears silently streaming down her face, blurring her vision, and gazed desperately in the direction of Qingqiu. Her most trusted sister had betrayed her. The tribe that gave her birth and raised her had abandoned her. She was completely and cleanly expelled from her own world. At the highest peak of Qingqiu, the Grand Elder Tuesday Shanyue silently gazed at the water mirror formed by Daji's demonic power, and the anger of the myriad foxes reflected in it. She sighed softly, her eyes filled with deep helplessness. Beside her, the figure of observer Ying Long appeared out of thin air, the jade slip in his hand flashing a dazzling red light.
The parasitic relationship between sample S-02 and host -01 has completely broken down. The sample has been stripped of its ethnic identity definition and has entered the wandering observation phase. The emotional fluctuation curve has reached its peak, and the energy core shows signs of severe instability. Assessment, risk increased, and the possibility of the experiment going out of control has risen. However, its observational value has significantly increased.
Tuesday Shanyue gazed in the direction Suji had disappeared. A flicker of pity in her eyes, but more so, a sense of detachment born of knowing everything yet being powerless to intervene. She knew that this cruel experiment orchestrated by the FX group had entered its most unpredictable and crucial phase. Where would Suji's love and desire lead in utter despair? Suji didn't know how far she had run or how long she had been running. Her mind was blank, with only that cold voice echoing repeatedly. The verdict of traitor from Daji was like an invisible brand, scaldingly imprinted on her soul. The contemptuous and angry gazes of the Qingqiu people, Yuling's undisguised gloating, and Daji's final words, to die alone with this identity, were like countless poisoned ice needles, piercing every inch of her body, making her shiver with cold from the inside out. She was a stone, a useless stepping stone that had been used, discarded, and betrayed its master. This realization was more painful to her than any torture. Her spiritual energy had been exhausted during her desperate escape, and the weariness and hunger of her mortal body overwhelmed her like a tidal wave. She stumbled through a strange, vast, primeval forest, her feet caught in the tangled roots of trees, and she fell heavily onto the thick layer of fallen leaves. The smell of rotting leaves mixed with the stench of earth filled her nostrils. She had absolutely no strength left to get up. Her consciousness began to blur, and scenes from the past flashed before her eyes like an absurd drama. In the snowy fields of Qingqiu, little Daji draped a warm fox fur cloak over her cold body, the dual cultivation under the moonlight, Daji's gentle and persuasive words echoing in her ears, the splendor and bloodshed of the Kayaj Palace, and the desperate screams on the torture pillar. Finally, the infants she had saved, their clear and innocent eyes like stars in the night. Did she do something wrong? If kindness is an inherent mistake, then she would rather bear the consequences. However, the price was far too heavy. She lost her only home, her only sister, was stripped of her identity, and was abandoned by the entire world. A scalding tear slid from the corner of her eye, seeping into the soil beneath her. Perhaps returning to dust and vanishing into nothingness was her best destiny. Her consciousness finally sank into boundless darkness. She didn't know how much time had passed when a rough and unrestrained conversation startled her from her
Hey, Wolf Peak, look, what is that? A blue ball of fur, and it is...
Don't touch it, all sorts of strange things live in the Black Forest. Be careful, it might be a trap set by forest spirits.
A large hand, calloused and exuding a wild aura, pushed aside the ferns covering her. Suji barely opened one eye, and against the light, she saw several blurry, tall silhouettes. They weren't as delicate as humans, nor as alluring as fox spirits. The leader had eyes as sharp as an eagle's bronze skin marked with scars like wild beast claws, and a pair of wolf ears standing erect, twitching a little. They are The wolf-eared youth leading the group crouched down. He was Wolf Peak, the young master of the wolf clan of the Beastmen in the Black Forest on the border of Shichi. He carefully examined Suji, who was almost one with the fallen leaves. There was no disdain from the fox demons of Chincho, nor fear from humans, only pure scrutiny, and a trace of confusion in his...
It seems to be dying.
Never mind, young master. This thing is of unknown origin and looks too strange. Let's hurry up and finish our patrol and go back so as not to cause trouble. It had no demonic aura about it, but it didn't resemble an ordinary wild beast either.
Wolf Peak ignored his companion's advice. He gazed into Suji's half-closed eyes, weakened by exhaustion, and from the depths of those eyes, he seemed to sense an overwhelming, profound sorrow and despair. It wasn't feigned. It was the emptiness and deathly stillness of a soul repeatedly torn apart. This pure grief touched the softest part of his heart. He remembered a wolf cub he had found abandoned in the snow when he was young, and it had the same look in its eyes.
She is not a trap.
He took off his thick coat made of animal hide, which still carried his body heat and a faint scent of pine. He carefully wrapped Suji's small, cold body in it and gently held it against his chest.
Young master, what is this?
She needs help. That concludes today's patrol. We're returning to the tribe.
In the warm yet unfamiliar embrace, Suji's remaining consciousness felt a long-lost sense of peace. She no longer had the strength to think about where she was being taken, whether it was a blessing or a curse. In this world that defined her as a traitor, her heart had long since turned to ashes. Perhaps being eaten by wild beasts was better than rotting alone in the mud. Thinking this, she drifted off to sleep again. Suji awoke to the warmth of a fire and the rich, slightly pungent aroma of meat broth. She found herself lying on a soft animal skin bed, covered with a thick blanket. Before her was a simple yet unusually spacious wooden hut, its walls adorned with hunting bows and arrows, animal horns, and totems she couldn't decipher. In the central hearth, thick pieces of firewood crackled and burned, dispelling the damp chill of the fire. A tall figure sat by the fire pit. It was Wolf Peak, the one who had saved her. He was intently whittling a nearly finished wooden spear with a sharpened stone dagger. Noticing Suji had awakened, he stopped what he was doing, turned his head, and his sharp eyes, which stood out in the forest, revealed a barely perceptible concern in the fire.
You're awake. How are you feeling? Have some broth that'll help you regain your strength.
The experience of being betrayed by Daji made her like a scalded cat, unable to easily trust anyone again, even if that person was her savior. Suji subconsciously curled up, looking at him warily, a low whimper escaping her throat.
Don't be afraid, we mean no harm. In our Black Forest, if we see any creature in distress who needs help, as long as it doesn't bare its claws, we will lend a helping hand. This is a rule passed down from our ancestors.
As he spoke, he ladled a bowl of steaming meat soup into a wooden spoon and placed it on a low wooden stool beside Suji's bed. Then he retreated back to the hearth and continued whittling his wooden spear, demonstrating through his actions that he posed no threat and leaving Suji with ample space and a sense of security. The rumbling hunger in his stomach finally overcame his vigilance. Suji struggled to sit up and picked up the rough wooden bowl. The soup was scalding hot, containing large chunks of animal meat and unidentified roots. The taste was not refined, even a bit salty, but it carried a simple and warm power, sliding down his esophagus into his empty stomach. A warm current instantly dispelled the chill and despair deep within his body. For the next few days, Suji recuperated in the wooden hut at Wolf Peak. She gradually discovered that this orc tribe was completely different from what she had imagined. There was no rigid hierarchy and bloodline discrimination like in Qingqiu, nor the omnipresent intrigues and treacherous nature of the Kayaj Palace. Although the orcs were rugged in appearance and had loud voices, they were straightforward and sincere in nature. Through the window of the wooden house, she saw the orc cubs of different races, bear cubs, tiger cubs, wolf cubs, and leopard cubs, wrestling and playing the most primitive wrestling games in the open space in the center of the tribe. No one mocked or ostracized the others because they looked different from themselves. Their parents were nearby, cheering their children on in loud voices. Occasionally, if a cub went too far and made a companion cry, they would step forward and scold it, then drag it home by the ear. One afternoon, a young bear cub tripped and fell while chasing its companions, its knee being cut deeply by a sharp rock. Blood flowed freely, and it cried out in pain. Suji watched the scene, and, as if possessed, walked over. She crouched down, extending her furry blue paws, her palms gleaming with a faint soft blue. This was the innate spiritual power within her, originating from the yin stone, carrying a hint of healing. In Qingqiu, this meager level of cultivation was utterly insignificant, but after rescuing the infant and escaping Kayaj, she seemed to have gained a new understanding of this power. It wasn't for fighting, but for a bluish light enveloped the bear cub's wound, like warm spring water. The bleeding gradually stopped, and the gruesome wound healed slowly at a visible speed, leaving only a faint pink mark. The bear cub stopped crying, blinked its big eyes curiously at Suji, and even stuck out its tongue to lick its paw. The surrounding orcs were stunned by the scene. This news quickly reached the ears of the tribal chief, Bear Mountain, the patriarch of the Bear Clan. That very night, Bear Mountain personally came to the wooden hut at Wolf Peak. He was like a moving mountain, each step causing the floor of the hut to groan. He exuded authority, yet his eyes were...
Are you the little guy? That Wolf Peak...
Suji was a little scared, nodded, and shrank behind Wolf.
I heard you healed a child's wound. We orcs don't care where you come from, what you look like, or what your past is. We only look at two things, your heart and your claw.
He pointed to his chest with his enormous finger, then to his hands. Your heart is kind, and your claws, that is, your abilities, are willing to be used to help your companions, so you are our friend. We, the Black Forest tribe, welcome you to join us. The words friend and join struck Suji like thunderclaps. She had never been accepted so simply and purely before. In Qingqiu, she was an ominous outsider. Beside Daji, she was a stepping stone and a tool. Who she was had always been defined by others. But at this moment, the powerful orc chieftain told her that her value depended on her own heart and actions.
I was exiled by my own people. They all call me mature.
Let bygones be bygones. From today onward, this is your new home. Anyone who dares to call you a traitor here will be thrown into the black swamp to feed the crocodiles.
Tears welled up uncontrollably. These weren't tears of sorrow, but rather a warm current of recognition and acceptance that melted the long-suppressed ice in her heart. Wolf Peak silently handed her a clean animal hide to wipe her tears. Suji lifted her blurry, tear-filled eyes and saw the undisguised tenderness and smile in his eyes. In the days they had spent together, Wolf Peak's silence, reliability, and sincerity had, like sunshine, gradually pierced through her frozen heart. She began to ponder a completely new question. If I am no longer the fox demon of Qingqiu, no longer Daji's tool, and no longer even that traitor, then who am I? Perhaps she can find the answer here, in this rugged yet sincere forest. Suji stayed in the orc tribe, and began a life she had never imagined. She no longer lived in constant self-consciousness about her appearance, and fear of others' opinions. Here, no one mocked her Tiffany blue fur, nor did anyone find her guinea pig-like appearance strange. The beastmen varied in appearance, height, weight, and fur color, and displayed their strength in countless ways. People were more concerned with whether they could hunt enough food that day, whether the tribe's fence was sturdy enough, or whose child had won the wrestling match. She began to clumsily learn the orcs' way of life. She followed the female orcs in the tribe, learning to identify which berries in the forest were edible and which mushrooms were poisonous. She learned to weave baskets from sturdy vines. Though her weaving was always crooked, she learned to share roasted meat, crispy on the outside and tender on the inside, with the orcs at campfire parties, and to listen to them tell the most thrilling stories of their hunts in their roughest language. she no longer hid her healing abilities. Whenever a member of her tribe returned injured from hunting, she was always the first to arrive, healing them with her faint yet warm spiritual power. Gradually, Go Find Suji became the first reaction of the beastmen when they were injured. She was no longer the useless furball, but a healer whom everyone relied on and respected. The children loved to gather around her, listening to her soft voice tell vague stories about Qingqiu that she herself couldn't remember, and they called her Little Blue Doctor. The feelings between her and Langfeng also quietly grew in this simple and unadorned daily life, like vines quietly sprouting in the forest, firm and persistent. Wolf Peak would roast the tenderest piece of meat from his prey and hand it to her first. He would place the most beautiful feathers he gathered on the cliff face at the door of her cabin. When she was exhausted and about to fall asleep after staying up all night treating a seriously wounded hunter, he would silently stay by her side, adding firewood to the hearth and using his tall figure to shield her from the night's chill. He didn't talk much, but his actions spoke louder than words. Suji responded to his feelings in her own way. She would use animal bone needles and sinew thread to mend Wolf Peak's leather coat, which was torn by thorns. Although the stitches were crooked, they were very sturdy. When Wolf Peak returned from hunting, she would be the first to greet him and hand him a pottery jar of warm fruit juice. Finally, on a night when the campfire burned brightest, the orcs held a coming-of-age ceremony for Wolf Peak. According to tribal custom, male orcs must, during their coming-of-age ceremony, hunt down a ferocious beast alone to prove their courage. Wolf Peak successfully hunted down an exceptionally fierce saber-toothed tiger, demonstrating that he was indeed one of the tribe's most valiant warriors. According to tradition, at the end of the coming-of-age ceremony, the newly minted warrior chooses his mate and offers her the most precious part of his prey. Amidst the gazes and cheers of his tribesmen, Wolf Peak descended from the ceremonial platform. He ignored the young and beautiful female orcs who were throwing him flirtatious glances, and instead walked straight through the crowd to Suji, who was standing in a corner. He knelt on one knee before her, and solemnly presented her with the sharpest, whitest tooth of the saber-toothed tiger.
Suji, my strength comes from my claws and fangs, which I use to protect the tribe. And you, with your gentleness, you heal our wounds. With your unwavering support, you stand by us. You make our tribe more complete. Become my partner and protect this home with me.
The entire room fell silent. There was confusion, surprise, but mostly kind gazes and blessing. Looking at the sincere and brave orc youth before her, and at the beast tooth in his hand that represented courage, commitment, and protection, Suji's vision blurred with tears once again. Home. This word was once an unattainable dream for her, a mirage woven for her by Daji with lies. But now, a real warm home that belongs to her is within her reach. She stretched out her tiny blue paw, trembling, and took the beast tooth.
I do.
The entire tribe erupted in thunderous cheers and blessings. Chief Xiangshan personally came forward to preside over a simple marriage ceremony for them. He placed their hands together, one large and one small, one rough, and one soft, and loudly proclaimed, "From this day forward, Suji and Langfeng are partners, to live and die together, and to protect the tribe." That night, for the first time, Suji didn't feel inferior. She stood beside Wolf Peak, receiving the blessings of all her people. She was no longer an outcast in Qingqiu, no longer Daji's tool, and no longer a traitor, hated by everyone. She is now Wolf Peak's wife, a healer for the orcs, and one of the guardians of this. This was the first time she had defined herself through her actions. This definition had nothing to do with bloodline or appearance. It was solely about love and responsibility. Within her small frame, something seemed to be breaking through the soil. An unprecedented force called self was beginning to take root and happy times are always as fleeting as the morning mist in the forest. Once the sun shines, they quietly dissipate, as if they had never existed. Suji's merry life with Wolf Peak was one of peace and sweetness she had never experienced before. They took care of their little cabin together. Wolf Peak was responsible for reinforcing and expanding it, while Suji decorated it with fresh flowers and feathers she had gathered. making it warm and lovely. They gathered together in the forest and huddled together by the campfire at night, sharing the day's experience. Tsuji completely integrated into this rugged yet warm family. She even began to feel that her Tiffany blue fur, among the diverse skin tones and furs of the orcs, didn't seem so out of place, but rather a beautiful color. However, the shadow of war is silently spreading from the distant human world to this peaceful forest. That day, the wolf sentry on the tribe's watchtower sounded the alarm, signaling that an unfamiliar group was approaching the tribe. Wolf Peak immediately led a squad of his most elite warriors to prepare for the attack, with Tsuji following anxiously behind, clutching a piece of herbal medicine for healing tightly in his hand. The newcomers were not enemies. It was a strange group of a dozen or so people, led by a human general in bronze armor with a resolute expression. Behind him were not all human soldiers. Among them were chivalrous swordsmen with sharp oars, Taoist priests in flowing robes and holding whisks, and even a few strangely looking individuals. This diverse group claimed to be messengers of the Alliance to overthrow King. In the open space in the center of the tribe, the human general saluted Chief Xiangshan and the tribal elders, and explained his purpose directly.
King Wu of Zhu, in Shiki raised a righteous army to punish the tyrannical and incompetent ruler Yin Shu. However, the seductive concubine Daj of Chaoji wreaked havoc on the court, harmed loyal officials, and used her sorcery to poison the world, causing widespread suffering and misery.
Upon hearing the name Daji, Tsuji's body stiffened abruptly, a chill running from her tailbone to the top of her head. This name was like a poisonous thorn buried deep in her heart. Every touch brought excruciating pain. Lung Feng sensed her distress and silently took a half step back, tightening his grip on her hand, soothing her with the warmth of his palm.
Along my journey, I have witnessed the desolation of villages, their air thick with resentment. That sorcerer has laid an evil array in Chaoji, draining the resentment and souls of the people to raise demonic creatures. These are no ordinary monsters, their hearts are wicked, their actions despicable, bordering on demonic. We, the cultivators, feel powerless to stop them, and thus we have united heroes from across the land to vanquish this fiend. We have heard of the brave and righteous Sorasi tribes of the Black Forest, and have come to request their assistance.
The messengers described in detail the horrific scenes under Daji's rule, a pool of wine and a forest of meat, the torture of branding with hot irons, the bone-crushing examination of marrow, even 100 times more brutal than what Tsuji had witnessed firsthand. They also brought a magically imprinted image, in which an army composed of skeletons and vengeful spirits was storming human cities, leaving nothing but desolation in their wake, and instantly draining the living into dried corpses. The beastmen, watching the images, all let out angry growls. Though they lived in seclusion, they were not incapable of distinguishing good from evil. This act of taking pleasure in slaughtering living beings violated their most basic reverence for life. Tsuji felt a chill run through her body, as if she had fallen into an ice cave. She knew this was Danji. This was the sister she had once regarded as a goddess, only to discover in the end that she was a demon. Her past innocence and selfless devotion had undoubtedly fueled the arrogance of this demon. In the howls of those vengeful spirits, it seemed as if she bore a share of her sins. That evening, Shongshan summoned all the tribal leaders to a supreme meeting around the campfire in the center of the tribe.
This is a war between humans. We are never easily get involved in conflicts outside the mountains. Becomes the king of humanity is none of our business.
But that's no longer a conflict. That's slaughter. The monstrous army created by that sorcerer queen is slaughtering humans today, and tomorrow it could raze our forests to the ground. We can't stand idly by and watch our fate be sealed.
Wolf Peak is right. We orcs revere life and hunt only for survival. That demon queen takes pleasure in cruelty and slaughter. She is the enemy of all living beings on this land. We will not help humans, but we will fight for ourselves.
The heated debate at the meeting lasted a long time. The pro-war and pro-peace factions each held their own views. Finally, the leader, Shongshan, stood up. His imposing gaze swept over everyone, finally landing on Suji, who remained silent in the corner. He knew Suji's background, and what this war meant for her.
We fight not for anyone's kingship, nor for anyone's realm. We fight only to protect our homeland, to ensure our children don't live in fear. That evil fire, now that it is within our sight, we must extinguish it. Otherwise, by the time it reaches our doorstep, it will be too late. War.
Fight. The entire tribe's orc warriors responded in unison, their fighting spirit soaring. Suji stood in the crowd, looking at the faces filled with fighting spirit, her heart filled with mixed emotions. She had just found a home, a haven where she could forget the past and find peace. But now, to protect this home, she had to confront the darkest past she had ever wanted to escape. She looked at Langfeng beside her, and Langfeng was also looking at her with a firm and warm gaze.
Don't be afraid. This isn't a battle you fight alone. No matter what happens, I'll be by your side, right in front of you.
Across the vast wilderness, the sounds of battle shook the heavens. Before the first light of dawn had even pierced the thick mail of night, the chariots of King Wu of Zhou's allied forces, like a torrent of steel, rolled across the frosty earth of Muye. Wheels rolled, banners fluttered, and the fates of hundreds of thousands of lives converged at this moment, coalescing into a terrifying killing intent that soared into the sky. Within this vast army, one force stood out wild and deadly. They wore no fine armor, no standardized weapons. All they possessed were unparalleled agility and a primal savagery. Wolf Peak led the charge. His bare torso, a mask of blood-stained wolf totems etched across his bronze muscles. His massive frame unleashed astonishing power. His giant axe swirling like a death whirlwind, each strike sending blood and flesh flying. Behind him, hundreds of orc warriors roared deafeningly. Kings of the jungle, now meat grinders of the battlefield. They easily tore through the Shang army's front. Suji followed closely beside Wolf Peak. She was no longer the blue guinea pig who would cower and tremble in a corner. Now she moved with lightning speed, darting freely through the chaotic and bloody battlefield. She didn't directly participate in the killing. Her power manifested in a more peculiar way. Whenever an orc warrior was wounded by swords, a soft blue aura would emanate from her fingertips. This light, falling upon the wound, would lessen the excruciating pain and slow the bleeding. She was a touch of gentleness in this barbaric army, a guardian amidst the carnage.
Stay close to me, Jip.
Suji didn't answer, but gripped the short blade, formed from her own energy and gleaming with a bluish light even tighter, her eyes resolute. This was hell, but beside her were her lover and her people. This was also her battlefield, the home she had to protect. However, the real hell had only just begun. A piercing, ear-piercing laugh tore through the sky, instantly staining it with an eerie inky black. From Kaocha's direction, an overwhelming aura of resentment surged into the heavens, like a gigantic black dome, enveloping the entire Muye, completely blocking out the sun. She is here, in the allied forces. A white-haired cultivator's face turned ashen. He sensed the pure, otherworldly demonic energy, and the whisk in his hand fell limply to the ground. Daji hovered in midair, her magnificent black dress billowing without wind, the hem embroidered with struggling, vengeful spirits in gold thread. She was no longer the seductive concubine who bewitched the king. Now she was shrouded in black mist, her eyes bloodshot, a cruel yet elegant smile playing on her lips. She was no longer a demon, but a monster who fed on the resentment of all living beings and defied the rules of heaven and earth.
A bunch of ignorant ants. Let me show you just how powerful and wonderful the resentment you've abandoned and forgotten truly is.
She gracefully opened her arms, as if embracing the entire world behind her. A dark, resentful aura surged forth, like a tsunami, crashing onto the blood-soaked earth. Wherever the resentment reached, the corpses of the recently deceased Shang soldiers convulsed and rose, eerie green flames igniting in their empty eye sockets. Moreover, beneath the earth, countless souls that had perished in past wars were forcibly awakened, coalescing into hideous, silently howling vengeful spirits, merging into this vast army of the
vengeful spirits. This is the long-lost tying secret technique. All troops guard your minds. Form the Bagua formation.
However, how could ordinary soldiers withstand this terror from the depths of hell? The vengeful spirits ignored swords and blades. Their claws easily tore through flesh and blood, and could even invade the mind, driving people mad and causing them to attack their comrades. The Allied forces' lines were instantly torn open in several places, and screams and wails rose and fell, turning the battlefield into a slaughterhouse. The cultivators unleashed their magical treasures, their golden light and lightning clashing with the black aura of the vengeful spirits, producing a sizzling, corrosive sound. The martial arts masters protected themselves with their inner strength, their sword energy crisscrossing, barely managing to hold their own against the vengeful spirits. But the disparity in numbers was too great. The vengeful spirit army seemed endless. The orcish front lines suffered their fiercest attack. Their bravery proved futile against these ethereal, vengeful spirits. Their claws could only whip up plumes of black smoke, while the spirits' counterattacks were deadly, striking straight at them. Roar, a tall tiger-type beastman, was pounced on by several vengeful spirits and fell to the ground. His strong body withered at a visible speed, and his life force was instantly drained, turning him into a dried-up corpse covered with tiger skin. Wolf Peak roared as he charged forward, his muscles bulging to their limit. A surge of violent power from his ancient bloodline awakened within him, causing a faint crimson glow to emanate from his body. This power finally allowed him to inflict substantial damage on the vengeful spirits. With a swing of his giant axe, he could cleave the spirits into blacks. But Daji merely watched coldly, as if observing an amusing drama. Her gaze swept across the chaotic battlefield, finally settling precisely on the tiny figure, like a candle flickering in the wind, who was constantly healing the orcs with blue light.
Suji, don't rush, my dear sister. Our game has only just begun.
The tide of battle turned rapidly, with the Allied forces suffering defeat after defeat, and the endless army of black vengeful spirits seemed to rise above the wilderness. The cries of the living and the howls of the dead intertwined, merging into a despairing elegy of apocalypse. Daji gradually lost interest in this low-level, mortal-level stalemate on the battlefield of Muye. Crushing ants brought no pleasure, no matter how many there were. Her true goal, from beginning to end, remained singular, that work, that dared to challenge her right to define, that made her feel betrayed. Her figure faded away in midair like ripples on water, and the next second she appeared like a ghost hundreds of miles away, above the orc. This is the rear of the Allied forces, the home that Wolf Peak and Suji built with love and hope. At this moment, only the elderly, women, and children remain in the tribe. They are anxiously and expectantly looking in the direction of the pasture, gathered around the campfire, praying for their husbands, fathers, and sons. Daji's appearance was like a drop of concentrated, deadly ink falling into a bowl of clear water, instantly bringing extreme pollution and terror. Dense demonic energy descended from the sky, falling silently like black snowflakes. The once warm and peaceful village was instantly shrouded in coldness and despair. The campfire went out, and the birds and beasts fell silent.
What's this?
Your doomsday.
With a gentle wave of her hand, several streaks of black energy, like venomous snakes with life, silently shot towards the tranquil village. Wherever the black aura passed, sturdy wooden houses instantly rotted and collapsed. Vibrant vegetation withered and died rapidly, and even fertile land turned scorched black. The beastmen of the tribe screamed in terror and scattered in all directions. But how could they outrun this clinging demonic aura? A leopard woman holding a child was caught up by the black aura after only a few steps. In despair, she shielded her child with her body, and the mother and child were drained of all their life force, amid silent screams, turning into two distorted, desiccated corpses. This was no longer war, but a one-sided, emotionless massacre. Daji wanted to use this method to tell Suji how utterly vulnerable everything she cherished was in front of her. On the battlefield, Suji, who was healing a wounded orc, suddenly felt a pang of unease, an intense, suffocating feeling gripping her. She turned sharply, looking towards her home, only to see a small patch of sky stained in ominous, inky.
No.
She pushed aside the people around her without hesitation, turned around, and ran towards the tribe, like a madwoman.
Jill. Hold this place. Wait for me to come back.
After saying that, he transformed into a blood-red afterimage, recklessly burning his life force, and chased after Suji at a speed beyond his limits. When they rushed back to their tribe, one after the other, they were met with a scene of utter devastation. Their homeland had been reduced to charred ruins, and everywhere lay the desiccated corpses of their people, their faces frozen with the terror and bewilderment of their deaths. The air was thick with the stench of death and despair. Daji stood elegantly in the center of the ruins, her magnificent black dress, a stark and cruel contrast to the surrounding devastation. Beneath her feet lay the head of the wolf elder, a satisfied yet ruthless smile on her face. Behind her, several surviving orc children were bound in midair by black mist, struggling in agony like butterflies caught in a spider's...
No. Just in time.
As Suji's all-encompassing impact, upon contact with Daji's palm, vanished without a trace like a mud ox sinking into the sea. Daji's palm was like a bottomless black hole, easily absorbing all of her energy.
Do you see that? My little guinea pig, your strength, your anger are worthless before me. Your so-called home, your so-called love, are even more fragile and easily destroyed. Everything you have comes from me. I gave you form, I gave you power. Without me, you are nothing. Your existence is defined by me now. I want you to witness how everything you cherish will vanish into nothingness.
Let her go.
This was a strike that burned with the very essence of his life. A strike imbued with all his anger and protective...
Overestimating one's abilities.
A demonic aura, 100 times denser than before, crashed into Wolf. Without a deafening roar, Wolf Peak's body abruptly halted in midair, as if struck head-on by an invisible mountain. The giant axe in his hand shattered into iron filings. A series of teeth grinding, rapid cracking sounds emanated from his bones. He was sent flying backward like a kite with a broken string, crashing heavily onto the scorched earth 100 meters away. Blood quickly spread beneath him, instantly staining a large patch of land.
Wolf Peak.
She couldn't make a sound, only blood and tears mingled and slid down her cheeks. Her world collapsed, completely at that moment.
Despair, pain. That is more like it. Your laughable happiness disgusts me. Only in utter despair can you forge the purest essence of spirit stones. Come to Kayaj. Come to my alchemy furnace. Let me see what kind of definition you will choose in the very end.
After saying that, she released her grip, letting Suji fall to the ground like a rag doll. Her figure slowly faded away, and along with the bound children, they turned to ashes and vanished into the air. Only Suji remained, kneeling on the ravaged ruins, cradling the weak and lifeless Wolf Peak in his arms, letting out suppressed sobs deep in his throat, like those of a wild beast. My home is gone. My loved one is almost gone too. Suji knelt amidst the desolate ruins, cradling the dying Wolf Peak. Time seemed to lose its meaning, day and night alternated, yet she remained oblivious. Her tears had dried, leaving only an endless emptiness and coldness in her heart. Everything she cherished had been crushed to pieces by the very person she had once loved most. But at the edge of this desolate place, beneath this scorched earth of despair, a tiny flame quietly. That was not anger, nor hatred, but a desire that originated from the deepest part of the soul. She wanted to save him. She wanted to revive the man in her arms who loved and protected her with his life. This desire was so pure, so intense, that it transcended pain and despair, transforming into an unprecedented and unwavering resolve. Driven by this pure willpower, her innate spiritual stone essence began to resonate and sublimate in a peculiar and mysterious way. She gently set Wolf Peak down, straightened his tattered clothes, and placed a tender yet resolute kiss on his cold forehead.
What from it?
Her voice was eerily calm, yet contained an undeniable power. She stood up, Taking one last look at her destroyed homeland, her eyes devoid of any weakness or confusion, she transformed into a pure blue ray of light, tearing through the sky and shooting straight towards Kayaj. Within the city of Kayaj, demonic energy soared to the heavens. Deep within the royal palace, an enormous alchemical furnace emitted an ominous red light. This was the Samadhi True Fire alchemical furnace, modified by Gaji using countless souls in their resentment. Its surface was covered with bizarre runes designed to absorb resentment, and the flames were no longer the pure golden hue of Taoism, but a dark red mixed with black energy, resembling the karmic fire of hell. Daji sat cross-legged before the furnace, eyes closed, meditating, patiently waiting for her main ingredient to fall into her. When Suji's figure appeared in the hall, Daji opened her eyes and revealed an elegant yet cruel smile.
My dear sister, have you figured it out? Are you ready to accept the final definition I've prepared for you? Become the core of my 9 revolutions, returning to origin demon pill, and you will gain eternal life with me, becoming the supreme being in this world. This is unparalleled glory.
Suji ignored her sarcasm and simply stared quietly at the alchemy furnace that exuded an aura of destruction, his eyes as calm as a deep pool.
You are wrong, D-A-J-I. You have never defined me, nor can you define anything. Your entire life has been defined by your greed and fear. You crave power because you fear weakness deep within you. You devour everything because you fear nothingness deep within you.
Shut up, you. A pet I just made up on a whim. Dare to criticize me.
I am not your pet. My name is Suji. My power is not for devouring unpossessing, but for protecting ungiving. You will never understand that there is a power called will. How do you find my...
Under Daji's astonished gaze, Suji finished speaking his last words, then leaped into the demonic fire that could melt all things without hesitation.
Haha, my silly sister. I'll send your lover to meet you right away.
She assumed Suji had resigned himself to his fate, so she immediately activated her demonic powers and prepared to begin refining this perfect illusion. However, the moment Suji was put into the furnace, something unexpected happened. FX Group 64 Hexagrams Evolution Sandtable Observation Center. A piercing red alarm blared throughout the pure white space. Warning, warning. An anomaly in the rule level energy of Sandbox World T-897 has been detected. The singularity seed, Yin, has undergone an unknown mutation.
The observed target, Suji, has actively entered the high-dimensional energy matrix, Samadhi True Fire Alchemy Furnace. Its willpower resonates with the essence of the Spirit Stone via superstring resonance, and is undergoing a regular annihilation reaction with the tie-in and resentment within the furnace. The computational model has collapsed, unpredictable, generating an unexpected singularity black hole. The fundamental rules of the sandbox world are being torn apart.
Above Kayaji's, the alchemy furnace began to tremble violently, and the dark red flames were instantly replaced by an extremely pure white light. All the magical runes on the furnace were purified and dissolved in the white light, emitting a mournful wail.
What is going on? My magic core, my power.
To Daji's horror, she discovered that not only was she unable to refine Suji, but her connection with the alchemy furnace had also been forcibly severed by an irresistible force. Inside the furnace, a power she could not comprehend, a power that transcended demons and monsters, and even the rules of this world, was being born. Boom, a deafening roar, not an explosion, but like the first syllable of the universe's creation, filled with the power of creation and new life. The enormous alchemy furnace shattered inch by inch, turning into countless particles of light that dissipated into the air. A dark, black hole-like sphere of light hovered in midair. The sphere slowly dissipated, revealing the figure within. She was a slender woman with a dignified air. She wore a long black dress that seemed to be woven from the night sky, the hem of which moved without wind, flowing with a deep light. Behind her, 9 enormous black foxtails slowly unfurled, the tips of the tails shimmering with golden light as if they had captured countless stars. Her skin was as white as snow, and her black hair cascaded down like a waterfall, making her stunningly beautiful face appear even more aloof and noble. What was most breathtaking were her eyes. A pair of pure golden pupils, devoid of any emotional fluctuation, containing only absolute rationality that saw through the origins of all things, and a divine aura that commanded respect without anger. She is no longer a demon, nor a monster. She was born of the wish to protect, breaking the definition of the world, the Lord of Origin. The newly born Suji floated in midair, quietly watching Daji below, who was twisted in fear and utterly horrified, from a completely new and transcendent perspective. In her golden eyes, the dense demonic energy swirling around Daji now looked like a laughable and pathetic disguise, painted with countless sins. Beneath those layers of disguise lay a tiny and pitiful soul, constantly demanding more out of fear and devouring itself out of emptiness.
No, impossible. This is absolutely impossible. You were clearly mine. My stepping stone.
However, the demonic energy that once could tear the heavens and earth apart was swallowed up and annihilated silently, like moths to a black hole when it came within 3 feet of Suji, without even causing a ripple. The difference in their power levels was like heaven and earth, like mortals and gods. Suji remained silent, but slowly raised her hand, extending a single, snow-white finger that pointed towards Daji. Her movements were elegant and composed, yet carried an absolute power akin to defining a law. In an instant, Daji felt the entire world pressing down on her, the space solidifying like iron. She couldn't move, couldn't breathe, and the demonic energy within her was forcibly suppressed, dispelled, and purified by an irresistible, more primal force. Her demonic body, formed from the resentment of countless people, began to show spiderweb-like cracks, emitting mournful cries of unbearable. Just as Daji was about to completely collapse, and her soul was about to dissipate, the entire world froze. The wind stilled, the light froze, and the dust swirling in the hall hung suspended in the air. Time had been paused by a force from a higher dimension. A figure appeared silently before Suji. She wore a simple modern business suit, exuding an air of elegance and authority, as if she were born to be the center of the universe. She was Nua, a board member of the FX Group, and the head of the World Project.
Interesting variable. Based solely on willpower, it broke through the upper limits of the rules of the sandbox world, generating an independent and stable singularity on its own. You are the first. According to the instruction manual, I should format you and this world, showing signs of going out of control to prevent contamination of other projects.
Suji's golden pupils calmly met her gaze, without the slightest fear. She could sense that the being before her was a being on the same level as herself, only that it was more ancient and powerful.
But your birth provides a completely new and extremely valuable direction for our emotional energy transformation experiment. So I've decided to give you a choice as a reward for your outstanding achievement. The cause that defined the first half of your life is now right beneath your feet. You can choose to completely erase its existence, fully absorb its essence, and you will become stronger, or you can choose any other way you wish to dispose of it.
Suji's gaze returned to Daji, who was immobilized and filled with nothing but fear. Eradicate her. Absorb her. What difference would that make from being the Daji of the past? He had given everything not to become another, stronger devourer.
Her entire life was defined by acquisition and possession. She believed that was the entirety of power. I will not give her a new definition, not even the punished, because that is still my definition, not her. I will reclaim what is mine then. I will banish her soul, let her go to a place of nothingness, to begin from the purest point, undefined by anything, to find out who she is, to define herself. This is the greatest mercy I can think of for her, and also the deepest test.
Excellent answer. It exceeded my expectation.
Suji withdrew her gaze. She reached out and gently pressed her hand against Daji's brow, A wisp of the most primordial core energy of the yin stone, radiating a ghostly blue light, was slowly drawn from Daji's body, like a weary bird returning to its nest, returning to Suji's fingertips, and finally merging into her body. Having lost this last foundation, Daji's demonic body could no longer be sustained and instantly disintegrated into countless black powders. Only her most primal, weak, and confused fox demon soul was enveloped by Suji, with a beam of light and thrown into an unknown, absolutely void dimensional rift. As Nua's figure disappeared, time resumed its flow. The demonic energy above Kyoji City dissipated, and the long-awaited sunlight once again bathed the earth. On the battlefield of Moye, the army of vengeful spirits, stripped of their source of power, let out unwilling roars before finally turning into wisps of smoke and vanishing into the wind. Meanwhile, in the distant ruins of the Black Forest, the dying wolf Peak was enveloped in a gentle white light descending from the sky, and his shattered body was miraculously healing at a visible Suji's figure slowly rose into the air, glancing back at the land she deeply loved, a tender longing for the past shimmering in her golden eyes. Then, she transformed into a black rainbow piercing the heavens and earth, merging into the sky. She showed no lingering attachment, no farewell. She had become the guardian spirit of this land, her love forever enveloping everything she cherished. FX Group, Observation Center.
The Singularity Event Sugi has stabilized, and the Sandbox World T-897 has returned to its normal evolutionary trajectory. Detailed data on willpower, as the ultimate variable, has been archived.
No, it is Yingla. The experiment was just beginning to get really interesting.
In the void of the dimensional rift, there is no time, no space, no matter, and not even the concept of existence itself. Daji's soul drifted here, initially filled with endless fear and resentment. But soon, even these intense emotions were dissolved and smoothed out by the void itself. She was forced to confront her purest self. Without power, without beauty, without anything to devour and plunder, who was she? She didn't know how much time had passed. In this absolute nothingness, her profound understanding of humanity and desire became her only remaining something. She began to reflect, what is the essence of power? Suji's desire is a kind of power, and her greed is also a kind of power. Her past mistake was that her methods were too brutal and too direct. A true hunter never does the work himself, but weaves an invisible net. This thought was like the first spark ignited in the void. With this spark, her remnant soul began to coalesce again. She sent a signal to an unknown coordinate based on the most fundamental law of desire in the universe. I can give you everything you want. Earth 2049 AD. Global Elite Summit private dinner amidst the clinking of glasses and the glittering of elegant ladies. The world's most powerful and wealthy individuals have gathered. Among them, a women's organization called the Hera Club stands out prominently. Their members are all exceptionally beautiful and intelligent, moving effortlessly among financial tycoons, tech upstarts, and political figures. They never directly ask for money, yet they can get men to willingly offer up resources, shares, power, and even the most crucial business secrets. No one knows who the club's founder is. All people know is that she is known as Vixen, a mysterious queen who never appears in public. In a minimalist yet expensive suite, atop a skyscraper in the city, a woman stands barefoot in front of a huge floor-to-ceiling window overlooking the dazzling city below. She wore a simple silk robe that accentuated her perfect curves. In the moonlight, she slowly turned around, revealing a face that was identical to that of Daji from 1,000 years ago, yet with an added touch of modern sophistication and aloofness. Before her floated a complex network of light, from which countless golden emotional energies converged from every corner of the city, flowing continuously into her body through this invisible net. She closed her eyes, a satisfied and blissful expression on her face. She no longer needs to devour souls, no longer needs to instigate wars. In this new era, desire itself is the most abundant offering. Money, power, influence, these most efficient energy aggregates of modern society, through the vast network of the Hera Club, continuously nourish. She, Daji, has made a comeback in a more sophisticated and covert way.